All right, boys. In this one, I'm going to break down the exact psychology principles and direct response principles that allowed us to do over $12 million in the month of February across our portfolio of accounts. And to be honest, a lot of the principles that I'm going to mention in this video are sort of tried and true principles that I actually don't see anyone on YouTube talking about in terms of actually implementing those into branded dropshipping ads. So by the end of this video, you should learn exactly why your ads probably aren't performing very well and how we're able to consistently find you winners across over a dozen accounts, some of which are doing over like $1 million a month. Some of our smaller clients are doing like 250 to 500K a month. But ultimately, we've been able to consistently produce winners at our agency across all these different industries for all these different products because it all comes back to just tried and true direct response principles. I'm going to literally break down all the ads that we produced and everything like that. So let's get right into it. All right, so this is going to be a super transparent video. Again, I'm just going to show everything about sort of the patterns that we were able to identify across all of these ads that we produced. So in the month of February, we ran a report and we were able to figure out that we actually completed and launched over 1,900 ads across our entire portfolio of brands. And there were 5 key things that we were able to identify that these are things that we included in the majority of the winning ads that we produced. So anyways, of the results you see on screen, this is a total ad spend of all of our clients all combined. 68% of that spend was directly linked and spent on our creatives, which is roughly just under 5 mil, about 4.7 mil in spend on our creatives. So again, I'm going to break down exactly what we identified as sort of winning variables and stuff that you have to think about when you're producing your ads. So of the roughly 1,900 ads that we produced in total, 64% of them were either unaware or problem aware. And these are the first 2 stages of awareness. And I think the main takeaway here is the fact that if you're creating most aware or even product aware ads, those are inherently not going to be that scalable because you're pretty much only targeting people in a smaller eco space. Whereas if you're able to create winning ads that are unaware or problem aware, this opens up your total addressable market massively, which pretty much allows you to target a broader number of people. But at the same time, if you create these intentionally and pretty much take people that had no intention of even looking at products or thinking about buying products in your industry and taking them through the entire awareness stage where you're ultimately building up the desire for them to actually take action right then and there and purchase your product. Not to mention, I just think unaware and problem aware ads are just so much more scalable. To be honest, of like the roughly 5 million in spend that went to our creatives, 64% of them were unaware or problem aware, but I'd say upwards of 80% of the total spend actually went to those creatives. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they try to create unaware or problem aware ads is they ultimately just write a story or start off with some sort of content that is just entirely abstract and it's sort of not done intentionally. So something that you have to focus on when you're creating these unaware or problem aware ads is actually having some sort of believable story at the start of your ad that you're eventually able to tie in some capacity to your product. Another pattern I spotted was that 83% of our ads elicited one of the following emotions. And this is something that we include in all of our ads. We try to do what I consider to be emotional baiting. And this is what I think just really creates successful ads that are actually able to scale long term. And ultimately, these were the emotions that we were using the most in terms of triggering a response. And these are also just the emotions that I believe to be the best performing if you are going to be doing emotional baiting. So it's fear, frustration, shame, and guilt. And I just want to pull up this map of consciousness because this is something that nobody ever talks about. And this is how you actually get people to buy your products very instinctively. You almost want to get people in this unconscious state where they act with emotion and justify with logic after the fact. There's obviously that famous saying that people buy with emotion and then justify with logic. That's essentially what you're trying to do with this map of consciousness. And what you'll see in this map of consciousness is some of these emotions here in the survival paradigm. These are the kinds of emotions that are going to get people really just like honestly ready to give you their wallet. If you're able to put someone in one of these states of mind where they're angry at a certain thing, whether it be angry at a system or maybe they're fearful. Again, if you could get people in one of these states of mind, this is ultimately just how you're going to make a lot of money with your ads. And to be honest, this might not be the best thing to say because obviously none of these are very pleasant emotions to be in. I'm just telling you what works. And ultimately, I've seen some absolutely diabolical things being in dropshipping. So I like to think that I am not a complete scumbag. But ultimately, yeah, we do write scripts where we are going to bait certain emotions, whether it be guilt or shame or stuff like that. And those are ultimately what I find to be performing really, really well right now. So, and the last pattern that I noticed across most of our winning ads that we produced was that every single ad we created had a very deep focus on the emotional desire and not necessarily the surface level desire. So what I mean by we used emotional desire versus surface desire is surface desire would be something along the lines of, and this is if you're selling like an anti-aging cream, is I want less wrinkles. And that's what you will see come up in your research, and that's what people say that they think that they want. But the emotional deep desire is actually quite a bit different to this. So the emotional desire in a case like this where you're selling some sort of anti-aging cream, let's just say you're targeting women 40 plus that are starting to have wrinkles. Your emotional desire in this case, which is something, again, you could split test various different emotional desires. A good one that you could test in this case is I'm scared that my husband is going to leave me if I continue to age at this pace. So this is obviously a deep emotional desire, and I guess depending on how you frame it, this is actually an emotional fear of continuing down the same path, which is sort of another subject. But I want you to identify how this emotional desire is drastically different, and it's going to elicit one of these emotions a lot better than just the desire of I want less wrinkles. Because yes, everyone wants less wrinkles, but that doesn't resonate at all. It doesn't really speak to the avatar that you're targeting. So almost all of our ads, we are always conscious to include some sort of emotional desire rather than staying just at surface level. Now I want to get into the specific direct response principles that we focus on in every single script that we produce, every single ad that we produce. We are generally focusing on the 5 following direct response copywriting principles. Number 1 is that we lead with a story. And this is specifically when we're creating sort of unaware or problem aware ads. Sometimes at various different awareness stages, you can still lead with a story, but I think it is very important that you actually paint the picture and lead with a story. So what this actually looks like in practice is, let's say you're advertising for like a posture corrector. What you don't want to do is start your ad with something like, struggling with back pain, our posture corrector is able to help because of this XYZ. That's not really very good. It's very generic. There's no story behind it. Doesn't elicit any sort of emotion. So what would be a lot better in a situation like that for a posture corrector would be starting off an unaware or problem aware ad with something like, 4 months ago, Robert was unable to get out of bed on his own because he had such excruciating back pain. And ultimately, his doctor told him that this one thing was the main cause for his back pain. And it's what 47% of people over the age of 50 years old struggle with. So that's how you sort of lead with some sort of story. And at the end of that, I actually created sort of a curiosity loop by saying, this is the one thing, because then that opens a curiosity loop. People want to continue watching. And ultimately, that's how you retain watch time a lot at the start of specifically sort of unaware or problem aware ads. Which leads me into my next point, which is number 2 is open curiosity loops. And essentially what this means is you're sort of trying to write your script specifically in a way that you're sort of breadcrumbing people the entire time, and they're never fully clear on what the solution is. You're never closing the loop, because as soon as you close the loop, that's when someone is like, okay, I've got what I wanted, I got the information I wanted, and I scroll. So essentially what you're trying to do by keeping these open curiosity loops is continuously including stuff like, this is the one thing that he told me, without explicitly saying it in the script itself. You're hinting at, this one thing, and then people continue to watch because they want to know what that one thing is. And if you're continuously writing like this, that is ultimately going to be how you write for like really high watch time. And that is ultimately as well what is going to lead to winning ads that actually resonate and convert and so on. So an example of something like this would be if you're advertising for like a collagen supplement. You don't want to just say, here's exactly why our collagen supplement works super well for anti-aging. Instead, you want to open up a curiosity loop and do something along the lines of, dermatologists have known about this one ingredient for the last 20 years, and nobody in the skincare industry wants you to know this one thing, or something like that. So essentially you're writing that in a way where you've left the loop open by the end of that sentence that people want to continue watching because they don't know what you're talking about yet. Whereas if you say explicitly collagen is what treats anti-aging skin or whatever, you're essentially just giving it all to them all at once. Not to mention, if you are advertising something like collagen, this is just like a stage 4, stage 5 level of sophistication industry. People have heard word collagen, like it's such a buzzword at this point, collagen being in skincare, that you sort of turn people off right away. So if you're able to get people to watch a little bit longer, lead with a story, open these curiosity loops, and not actually tell someone that you're talking about or that you're selling a collagen supplement until they're kind of a little bit more bought in, you're gonna have a much more successful time with your ads. Number 3 is the rule of specificity. Ooh, it's a tough one. Essentially what this means is you actually just have to be specific with your writing. Again, especially when you're targeting these like saturated markets, which to be honest, most of our clients are selling in what you would consider to be like these saturated spaces. We're just able to outcompete because we understand a lot of these principles. But for example, like if you're selling a weight loss supplement, the last thing that you want to do is just say, Sarah was able to lose 14 pounds and she's way more confident now. Like that is so generic. So what I mean by the rule of specificity is you have to be super ultra specific as to what that outcome really felt like emotionally, physically, and just be like really specific with how that made someone feel, the transformation, and just in general, not even talking about just transformations, like all of your script has to be written specifically. It can't just have like game changer or like, you know, all these broad trigger keywords of like this product is amazing or something like that. You have to be way more specific than that. So again, for something like weight loss, you need to say, you know, Sarah was able to lose 14 pounds in just the first 11 weeks of taking the supplement. She dropped 3 dress sizes and she was able to go to her daughter's birthday party in skinny jeans, which she hadn't worn in over 12 years previously or something like that. And again, some of these examples I'm just like spitballing on the spot. So, you know, some of them might not be great, but hopefully these are giving you good ideas of what these principles actually focus on. But anyways, moving on. The next one is the unique mechanism. And this is one that I've talked about in the past. I've talked about in YouTube videos before, but there's also like 3 different parts of the unique mechanism that most people don't really focus on. So the first is like the problem mechanism. And this is essentially where you're including something in your script, which is like, you know, the real reason that you're struggling with this problem is not because of what you think it is, and it's actually caused by this real root cause. And this is something that you can make up entirely. I mean, it still has to be believable to an extent, but this is partially your job as a marketer, as someone that runs a dropshipping brand or so on. You need to be able to come up with a problem mechanism. You need to be able to come up with a solution mechanism, which is number 2. And the solution mechanism is essentially the real reason behind previous products that your audience might have tested not working, and why yours actually treats the real root cause. And that's why your product is X more efficient than the average or so on. That is essentially the solution mechanism. Again, entirely made up, but also be believable. And number 3, the third mechanism, is the product mechanism. And this is the one that I've talked about in a video in the past, where you're essentially outlining, and this is done mostly on your landing page, but you could kind of hint at it in your ads as well. It's essentially just a proprietary technology, a unique technology that your product has that no other products do. And that's what makes your product better, more efficient, or something like that. And that's the reason why people buy your product and they can't buy the generic Amazon version or something like that. Again, all of these unique mechanisms are entirely made up. Your job as a good marketer is to come up with believable and good unique mechanisms for the product, the problem, the solution, and so on. And number 5 is the fear of loss. And essentially what this means is in your script, you're going to want to include something along the lines of how every day that the person doesn't take action to treat what they're currently struggling with is another day that is compounding this loss. And essentially the longer you wait, the harder and more permanent their current situation becomes. So this is naturally going to add some sort of urgency. And this is something that a lot of people don't actually understand in marketing, is that loss aversion is like 2 times more powerful than just outlining a desire and saying that this is the desire you can get. So what you lose by not acting actually outperforms what you could gain by acting right now, if that makes sense. So in this example, if you're selling, let's say like a sleep supplement, the what you could gain frame would be something along the lines of start sleeping better tonight, wake up feeling refreshed and feel energized, something like that. That's the gain frame. Whereas the loss frame could introduce all sorts of other things. So in this case, in a sleep supplement case, it could be something like every night that you're struggling to fall asleep and get a good night's rest, your cortisol levels naturally stay higher, your testosterone drops, and your body stores more fat. So that would be like the loss aversion frame, where it's really talking more about like what is someone going to lose or what's going to happen that makes their current situation even worse if they stay in that situation and don't act right now. And again, that is so much more powerful than actually talking about what someone's going to gain and outlining the desired end result. Because to be honest, a lot of people on YouTube nowadays, they talk about like, oh, you have to talk about this desire or this desire. They don't understand that the real money is honestly in the fear of loss and loss aversion. So yeah, that is the 5 direct response copywriting principles that we focus on when we're writing literally every script, every ad, whether it be like a native image with long form ad copy. We're usually using some of these rules as well. This goes for like everything, to be honest, any script, any long form ad copy. These are sort of tried and true direct response principles that work time and time again. And most likely the reason you are struggling to find winning ads is because you haven't fully understood all of these principles. In 2026, I think the people that are going to make the most money with dropshipping are the ones that understand a lot of these tried and true direct response principles and are able to, in addition, use modern AI tech, whether it be Claude for your script writing, HeyGen for AI avatars, and all the other AI video gen models to actually bring these scripts to life in a proper, effective way that produces like actually engaging content and not just a bunch of AI slop. The people that are able to mesh those two things together are the ones that are going to make the most money. So if you think making winning ads is really the issue that you're struggling with, which to be honest, it probably is, because that's the hardest thing to do with dropshipping in general, then hit the first link in my description and apply to join our mentorship. I teach all of these kinds of principles, and you'd also get access to me one-on-one so that I can help you scale your brand. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video, so I will see you in the next one.